はい、皆さんどうもこんにちは。コンセラセキュリティジャパンの宮村です。今日はですね、アメリカのビットサイト社からですね、キーソさんに来ていただきまして、ビットサイト社の現状、それから今後の戦略、そういったものについてお話をしていただきたいというふうに思います。キーソさんはですね、現在シンガポール在住で APAC 地域の責任者ということになっております。Okay, hi, Kisso, thank you for coming to Japan. We appreciate it.And to begin with, please introduce a little bit about yourself and also talk about Bitsight as a company.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miyamura-san, for having me here. Thank you for the invite. It's always a great pleasure to visit Tokyo and Japan. So, by way of introduction, my name is Kisso. I'm the general manager for Bitsight.I've been with Bitsight for 2 years now, based out of Singapore, and ultimately responsible for our go-to-market and business development in the region. Before joining Bitsight, I have spent a lot of years with Moody's on risk management and advocating the adoption of data and technology for managing a risk at scale. And now at Bitsight, learning a new domain in terms of cybersecurity, which is very exciting.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.Cool.
And you are asking about Bitsight, right?
Yes, please.
So,
someone audience can be new to Bitsight, so.
So Bitsight, we started as a pioneer in the cybersecurity rating space. So back in 2011, our founders have come up with that idea to create something akin to credit ratings, that without engagement and interaction with any given organization, you'll be able to assess the security posture and the likelihood of that organization suffering a security incident. So they come up with this idea of security ratings. And since then, we have been evolving quite rapidly. Today, I would say that Bitsight goes beyond just security ratings, which we do very well. Our ratings are highly correlated with multiple business outcomes.A risk of ransomware and data breaches is just one of those business outcomes. And we moved more towards helping organizations to understand their overall exposure across their extended attack surface. That includes not only their immediate infrastructure, but also their extended supply chain. And then providing analytics and tools to help them prioritize the exposures and risks within that attack surface.And provide also the analytics that help risk leaders then ensure alignment across the organization and demonstrate and communicate performance. So in a nutshell, yes, helping organizations understand their exposure, prioritizing remediation, providing intelligence so that they can better and faster tackle emerging threats, and then all the analytics to facilitate communication and demonstrating performance.
Okay.Thank you very much. That's good. We know you are the global leader in this segment. I wonder if you can share something like how many customers you're working with at this moment, and if you can share some of the notable clients, that should be great for our audience to know.
Yeah, so as I said, since 2011, we have grown significantly.
Sure.
Bitsight today has more than 3,300 customers globally, many of those in Asia Pacific. We have, customer relationship in nearly every segment, industrial sector, if you say that way, which just shows that cybersecurity, it's a concern, it's a risk that any organization in this day and age faces. So a very spread customer base across regions, across customer segments. Globally, we have more than 55,000 users engaging with the Bitsight platform and solutions on a daily basis. And we are very proud of our customers, right? Because without them, we will not be successful. So we always try to do our best to delight their experience and the value they extract with Bitsight. And again, out of 3,300 customers, it's difficult to call out the main ones.
Sure.
But for confidentiality reasons, we don't typically disclose that. But we do have a number of advocates that publicly talk about our partnership. Organizations like Moody's, like Schneider Electric, Google, NASA, and the list goes on.
Okay, fantastic. And moving on to the next question is about the Moody's that we know you have very good or stronger relationship with Moody's, but would you briefly explain what it's like?
Yeah, so as I was saying before Bitsight, I worked for many years with Moody's, and I am again in a company that is part of the overall Moody's umbrella. So I believe as cybersecurity has risen to a point that it's one of the main risks that organizations are facing, and even in the Davos, they have highlighted 4 main risks that humanity faces in this day and age. One being climate change, right? The other is geopolitical tensions and kinetic wars. The other one is misinformation and disinformation, and cybersecurity.
Okay.
Right? And having said that, Moody's being global leader in integrated risk management, and they already have significant capabilities around credit risk, sanctions, compliance, ESG, climate. They were missing one leg to be able to provide these integrated risk assessments. So they were looking in the market who will be the best partner for them, providing credible, validated risk signals around cyber risk. And they have opted to partner with Bitsight, and I think 2 or 3 years ago they have invested $250 million to acquire 10% of Bitsight. So not only Moody's is our investor, it's also our partner because they use our data in their products, and also as one of the inputs in their credit ratings assessments. And ultimately, they're also a go-to-market partner in a number of instances where our customers have challenging risks around integrated risk management. We partner directly with them in helping with the cyber risk concerns. So yes, so investor, customer, and also a go-to-market partner.
Okay.
So a very close partnership with them.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Moody's is really well known for its the brand name and how they can cover the financial risk of the company. But now, cyber risk is important, same as financial risk for the kind of ongoing concern of any company. That is why they has invested in you.
Yes, absolutely, right. Cyber risk is no longer an IT risk, right? It's an enterprise risk that not only senior management, the board, regulators, and investors are very attentive to and trying to understand very intimately and manage in a more proactive manner. So with this partnership with Moody's, it brought additional, credibility and validation to what we do at Bitsight on the front of objective, independent cyber risk assessments. And in parallel to other validations that we already have, for instance, for a number of risk management companies, cyber insurer companies that have looked at, security incidents and other business outcomes and how our data strongly correlates with those outcomes. I think by also having Moody's, putting their belief and support Bitsight, really demonstrate that the analytics we produce are strong predictors of risk and can be trusted for cyber risk management.
Okay, understand.
Yeah. So we are very proud of that collaboration and partnership we have with Moody's and many other institutions that have done independent validations of the risk signals we provide.
Okay, understand.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, next question about the kind of market trends. And I do say that Bitsight has started a cyber screening, but now it is much more than that. So from your current perspective, what is the cyber security space, the market trend you see, and how you can address any issue that customer is facing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Maybe different individuals will have different answers to what's in the mind of security leaders, risk managers. The way we see it is predominantly 4 categories of trends and challenges that we see, right? First is the exploding attack surface, right? So the number of assets that organizations have to manage today have just grown to a size that becomes a great challenge.
Yeah.
Working from home, the number of digital transformation and resulting technologies that organizations leverage to create value and differentiated offerings, IoTs, your vendor ecosystem as well. It's part of that extended attack surface. So it's a big challenge to manage that. That's number one. The other one is, as I mentioned briefly before, geopolitical tensions, bringing up new motives for cyber threats and cyber attacks with very sophisticated and well-funded state-sponsored, state-backed threat actors, which are now further empowered by AI, which creates not only repeatability of attacks, but very sophisticated attacks that, the techniques and tactics can evolve during the attack itself. So, that's a new dimension in terms of, or a persistent dimension now further elevated around advanced persistent threats, and also the typical financially motivated criminals, right? How sophisticated they are becoming. So that's the second one, the sophistication and different motives and techniques. The third one is, despite all these challenges and emerging and elevated threat environment, companies don't have unlimited funds to manage their security programs. Right? So although it's an enterprise risk that it's very, very important for organizations, the budgets are not growing as maybe they were growing a few years back. And even there are pressures to reduce cybersecurity budgets or do more with the same resource. So that's also a challenge where organizations are trying to demonstrate strong return on investment and effectiveness of their programs. And last but not least is the regulators, right? They're doing much more in terms of regulatory mandates and enforcement of those mandates to protect several constituents like customers, investors, and other stakeholders. So essentially, I would say these four categories.
I understand. And what you mentioned are in sync with what we are also observing in our market. So we totally agree with. And the challenge is getting, bigger and bigger every year. So that Bitsight, how you can help your customer to address these issues effectively and efficiently.
The challenge is just becoming ever greater, right? So from a Bitsight perspective, yes, from an external attack surface perspective, understanding your infrastructure, understanding the infrastructure of your vendors, that's something we've been doing for many years now in terms of asset discovery, attribution of those assets to the organizations managing those assets, and then exposure within those assets. So we helping with that. And then historically, what we were providing was somewhat reactive. So we are looking into ways on how we can generate more real-time, more actionable insights so that organizations can take a more proactive stance to managing risk and less reactive. And that was one of the strategic rationales for us acquiring pure cyber threat intelligence business that can provide deeper insights into what's happening in criminal undergrounds in real time. Then in terms of pressures around budgets and demonstrating performance of programs, I think by expanding our offering, right, from just purely ratings into more continuous threat exposure management, governance and reporting, vendor assessment, workflow automation, I think we're presenting an opportunity for organizations to become more efficient by consolidating technologies and in the process being able to do more with less or at least the same funds, and also simplify a little bit the tech stack, which is something that a lot of security leaders and risk managers struggle with. There are so many technologies out there, so we're providing that ability for organizations to consolidate their investments and tech stack. On the regulatory front, it's our data and analytics, as I mentioned earlier, highly correlated business outcomes in real life. So many organizations are using those analytics to build trust in the digital ecosystem, being internally to improve the communication and alignment between security leaders, the security teams, management, all the way up to the board, so that there's that alignment using our analytics for that.
Okay.
And also providing assurances to external stakeholders like cyber insurers, your trading partners, your investors, and your regulators, of course, right? That you are doing what it takes to protect your organization, to protect your stakeholders and constituents, and have objective, independent metrics to demonstrate that.
Okay, Understand. Thank you very much. It's quite encouraging for the customer to have such a wide range of solution coming from a single vendor.
Yeah, I hope so, and it's something we are very excited to bring to market, and have as many engagements and such conversations as possible. I think there's a lot we can do for our customers and partners way beyond just objective and independent analytics around performance.
Okay, totally understood. So you mentioned about Cybersixgill. We are very curious to know a little bit more about it. So that you have already mentioned the reason that you needed a solution or technology like that. But would you again briefly share your insight about the reason the Cybersixgill is a really good fit with what you're doing right now, and also a brief introduction of what Cybersixgill is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, what Cybersixgill does is that they collect almost in real time intelligence from the deep, dark, and clear web, including criminal forums in messaging platforms like Telegram, Discord, and others. And they do that in a broad number of sources, and it's fully automated from the collection all the way to generating the insights and alerts. So it's not only high coverage, but also almost real-time alerts. So that really helps organizations to understand what's happening in those criminal forums, what the threat actors are planning, what techniques they are using, what vulnerabilities they're exploiting, what credentials from your organizations have been exposed or leaked, and what systems in your environment have been compromised and the logs are being stolen, right? So the ability to provide all that in real time really accelerates the ability of organizations to react to emerging threats around their attack surface. So by combining the context of your attack surface that Bitsight is already very powerful at doing, so we then contextualize all those emerging threats and alerts into your attack surface. And we believe that will significantly reduce noise, alert fatigue, because all those insights and intelligence from the dark web will be contextualized to your attack surface, right? So we believe that there's significant value there. And threat intelligence is all about prioritization, right? It's not only reducing the noise and alleviating alert fatigue, it's also being able for teams with limited resources understand where to prioritize limited people and processes and technology to address gaps and exposure.
Okay, understand. So with Bitsight and the Cybersixgill, the customer can have more holistic view on the threat landscape, and they can take action based on the priority coming
Absolutely,
from
absolutely. It's just better understanding their exposure, what are the threats around those exposures, and really prioritize response and optimizing the use of their limited resources. Because as I was saying, budgets are not unlimited, right? So people are struggling with that. So prioritization is king, and the Cybersixgill threat intelligence is all about prioritization.
Okay, I understand. As of now, the Bitsight and Cybersixgill, the kind of separate offerings. In the future, those two, solutions can be integrated into a single platform, or, keep the situation as is, that the two separate offering. So what is your future roadmap for digesting the Cybersixgill into Bitsight?
I think ultimately, I don't want to limit or restrict ourselves to specific products or platforms. We're looking at solutions, right? And the solutions that we'll bring to market will be designed to address specific needs of organizations based on their maturity, on the stage of their security programs, and also kind of their size, right? The jobs to be done, the use cases. So we will continue bringing solutions to the market that address all these different maturity levels, jobs to be done, and use cases. But simplifying that, I do see room for us to maintain the, if I can call the current offering of Bitsight, if I can call it that way, like the organic Bitsight offering, but enhancing that with real-time insights and intelligence we can generate out of Cybersixgill great threat intelligence capabilities, right? So we will enhance the Bitsight offering in of itself, but then we'll also enhance the Cybersixgill offering because Bitsight has a world-leading ESM discovery, asset criticality assessment, which are best in class. So also in Cybersixgill's kind of solution, we're going to have the Bitsight asset discovery plugged in, so that also increases the value of that solution as a standalone. Right? So I see different use cases for both platforms, right? One more around cyber risk intelligence and risk management on a continuous basis, and maybe another use case around Cybersixgill, more around investigations in the threat intel space, takedown services. There is room and use cases where both can be used as an integrated solution or as separate offerings, depending, as I said, on the use case and job to be done.
Okay.
Right, but we will combine the best of both worlds to make the offerings in of itself more powerful and valuable for our trusted partners.
Yeah, I truly believe so. Okay, thank you very much. A little bit about your future roadmap. You already have a wide range of solutions, but moving forward, maybe 5 years from now or 10 years from now, it's a bit difficult to tell, but if you have any specific idea about your future roadmap, please share with the audience.
Yeah, I think ultimately in Bitsight, if I can share, right, our, our purpose, our mission and our vision.
Sure.
Right. In terms of purpose for us is to build trust in the digital economy. Right. And then our mission is to empower organizations to address exposure before it impacts performance. Right. And last but not least, in terms of vision, ultimately, like that's our vision, is that the Bitsight cyber risk intelligence is integral to all cyber decisions. Right? So that's a bold statement in terms of a vision, right? So today we already have a very strong offering when it comes to external landscape in terms of exposure and threats.
Yeah.
So permissionless, right? But there is a big environment and source of risk that we're currently not covering, which is internal security, right? I think one of our directions will be to build capability, maybe not organically, maybe through acquisitions, we will see, but to fulfill our vision, that's something that we'll be looking at the ability to, on a permission basis, provide greater insights and intelligence to our customers on their internal security environments, and also mapping those controls to specific frameworks and prescribed controls, right, to do that mapping on a continuous basis with permission. So kind of that's, you said in 5-10 years time, that's where we want to be, right? But if we look more immediate, let's say the next year, 2 years, I think there are 4 things we want to achieve. Number one is further enhance our threat and exposure offering. In particular, increase the sources of risk that we are scanning, that we are capturing data from, like for instance, S3 buckets, more insights from the cloud, and also do our scannings more frequently, right? So that we generate even more value to our exposure and threat users, right? So that's one area. The other area is reduce somewhat the friction and challenges that we have in the rating space. Right, so we want to be able, by using technology that we are developing, to be able to refresh any findings faster or almost dynamically on the spot, and have the performance reflect that immediately. That's one of the things. Then I don't want to get into too specific details, but things like, for instance, guest Wi-Fi's, or the segregation of networks between, in particular for service providers, right? What is the infrastructure that they are using and what is the delegated infrastructure to their customers, right? To be able to do that at scale so that our ratings are more reflective of the true corporate risk of the organizations that our users are monitoring and interested in. And then also one of the big challenges that businesses have today is how to manage third-party risk or vendor risk. Technology, service providers, products that you use, or in manufacturing in your extended supply chain, right? In particular, if those are just in time how do you manage risks there from a cyber risk perspective? We already have a very strong offering, but I think from a workflow perspective, our focus in the next few months will be to make it more enterprise ready. We already have a big customer base that uses Bitsight, but I think for us to really serve the enterprise segment from a workflow automation perspective, we're going to be adding a few more capabilities to our VRM platform and further integrate that with our continuous monitoring data. And the last, I'll say in the next few months, is we've bought Cybersixgill, so is how do we bring all these capabilities together so that we make the experience seamless for our users, and also maybe create more modules or modularize our offering so that we can serve very specific use cases.
I see. Thank you very much. So there are more visibility, not just view from external, but also view from internal, and look into the digital, dark web, deep web, and just the surface web. That's very thorough, interesting, and also more real-time, dynamic. That's something we really want. I mean, the Bitsight data is very useful, but some customers say that they want to see the real-time reflection of their any changes or any, change over landscape. They want to be more alerted in a real-time manner. So I think your roadmap is in sync with what we are hearing from a customer. That should be great. So it can be very technical challenges. For you.
But ultimately we look to our customers and our users to source and solicit their feedback. And feedback from our customers is gold, right? That ultimately is what informs our roadmap. So I'm glad to hear that what you hear from your customers and from your experience of partnering with Bitsight, with your customer base, that there is an alignment there. I'm happy to hear that. So we're doing a few things right, I would say.
I totally believe so. And the customers are getting more and more demanding because the threat landscape is changing, and cyber is really the business risk for them. So they need to address, and they need to detect and take action, prevent something very damaging for entity, I think.
And that's what really we want to hone in and really provide contextualized, actionable insights. Right? Because actionability is a big challenge. People are fatigued, swamped with alerts and insights coming left, right, center, many of those unverified that are really drowning and creating a lot of challenges to personnel working in this space. So our goal is really provide actionable insights that ultimately are highly correlated with risk, so that people can really prioritize the job that they have at hand, which is ultimately to protect the organizations they serve.
Okay, fantastic. One thing you mentioned about threat actors are using AI to make their attack more sophisticated. So from the defense side, what kind of AI technique or technology that you are trying to use for better protection, if you have any idea?
Well, I think our founder, Steve Boyer, our co-founder, once said that AI can make a average attacker, transform them into a good attacker, but also transform a bad defender into a great defender. Right? So areas where we are using AI, it's in particular around big data analytics, right? Because we capture and collect so much data, right, that it becomes quite challenging for using old data management techniques to process and generate insight from that data. So when it comes to doing and designing and mapping digital footprints of organizations, so we're using a lot of AI there to complement what our data management team does. Also in terms of our next generation scanner of the entire World Wide Web, how to correlate that with the assets that we are assigning and attributing to organizations. And of course also a lot of help in platform, because as I said, there's so many insights being generated, so how to filter those into what really matters. So a lot of AI being deployed there, akin to a buddy or an assistant that you have that helps you understand, your vulnerability landscape, where to prioritize. So in platform to have that help.
Okay.
And actually, Cybersixgill as well have a capability that it's called Pulse. It's quite cool, actually. It's very akin to, internally we call it like the Netflix or cyber threat.
Okay.
Right? The more you use it and the things you watch the most, it typically will be the things that matter to your organization. So it will start generating insights and suggest content and actions that are aligned with your preferences and needs.
Oh.
So that's quite cool, and we'll have that across all our platforms.
Oh, that's good. It's like a real AI agent to help the customer.
Absolutely. And also one big use case that is out there for threat intelligence is preparing reports for different audiences, like your board, your regulators, right? So also within Cybersixgill, we do have AI-driven report generator that you can provide a few cues in terms of, who is the audience? Is it an executive? Is it a technical, non-technical person? What you want to talk about? And then leveraging all the data lake and intelligence that Cybersixgill has today and dating all the way back since they started collecting the data, generates those reports, and then you can just do a few finishing touches and send to your recipients.
Really?
It's awesome. It's awesome.
It's cool. It's a huge productivity gain for the customer.
Absolutely. Yeah. And writing reports is not the most exciting job that anyone can have, right? So it's really creating bandwidth and capacity to focus on higher value tasks, like maybe digesting what the report says rather than writing the report, right? Yeah, but one big thing is really making sense of data at scale. Right? Bitsight, we try to scan the entire World Wide Web, right, in terms of assets and map that to organizations. So as you can imagine, it's a tremendous challenge. So we're doing a lot of work with what we call GIA, Graph of Internet Assets, to be able to map all those internet-facing assets to the right organization. And we're already doing it quite well, and that's why historically our risk signals have significant correlation with risk, right? They mean something.
Okay. Yeah. And thank you very much. That's quite exciting. We just can't wait to test it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Exciting times ahead.
Sure.
So hopefully we will help not only bad defenders become awesome, but also very good defenders become even better, right? I don't know what's the superlative above awesome, but great.
Yeah,
let's use
understand.
it. Right. The good will be great. The so-so defenders will be awesome. Right?
Awesome. So, that's fantastic. All right. Yeah. Okay. One final question too is about a commitment to Japan. You have been around Japanese market for about 4 or 5 years, more than that?
Maybe more. I'll say I believe that Bitsight came to Asia maybe around 6-7 years ago.
Okay, I understand.
Around 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since then you have grown, and so I believe that the reason you are here today is to show some kind of commitment to the market in Japan. But would you share some of the plans about enhancement for Bitsight capability for Japanese market?
Yes. Given my role, right, general manager for Asia Pacific and responsible for the development of our business in the region and bringing tremendous value to our customers and partners, we need to prioritize, right? Because Asia, it's an eclectic group of very fragmented regions, sub-regions, different cultures, different ways of doing business, different priorities. So since I joined Bitsight 2 years ago, there are 2 markets that for me in Asia are very, very important. That's Japan and Australia.
Oh, okay.
And in Australia, it's easier for us to operate there because of language. It's English. The culture is very similar to the US and Europe, so we have less challenges there. But in Japan, clearly language is a barrier, right? So what we're doing is we started localizing our product, right? Or our products. So to have our UI and our platforms in Japanese, we're going to have that available in the coming days. For the record, we are in early March 2025. So in a few days, we're going to have beta versions for our select group of Japanese customers that can start interacting with our platforms in Japanese. So that's a great thing. But that's only one part of it, right? The other part is, from our perspective, is building our local team here, right? we are actively hiring commercial people, technical people, so that they can help us more effectively serve this very important market. And also at the time, like historically, Japan has been maybe a little bit of a literally and metaphorically an island, right? Because there was a big language barrier, so you'll be quite insulated from, international attackers, right? But with the evolution of AI, now, translating things becomes much easier. You guys are also in a somewhat tough neighborhood, right? You have great neighbors like, China, North Korea, Russia, that in many aspects can be seen as adversaries. Of course, not partners, but there are some competition there. So I'm sure that Japan, it's a big target now with all these events. And we see here the opportunity to, provide a more localized offering, being on the ground to better support our customers, and through this process, deliver value and being more relevant here to the community of risk managers and security leaders.
Okay. Yeah.
So I hope it's good news for you in terms of
very much so. We really wanted to have someone local here on Bitsight.
Yeah, and in parallel to that as well, we'll be making some investments, considerable investments, to increase the awareness of what we do, how we do, so that people can see the value, and then through that process we can have some interesting and engaging conversations. I really believe in the Japanese market, and something we are investing quite heavily to better support and help to develop as well a number of capabilities, so that being part of this cybersecurity community is all about raising capability, making the defense stronger, and that's kind of our commitment to Japan.
Okay, thank you. That's quite encouraging for us and also for the client. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, Miyamura-san.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure to come and visit.
Same here.
Thank you very
please
much.
come back again soon. Alright.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. はい、以上です。どうもありがとうございました。
ありがとうございます。
Thank you.
さよなら。
さよなら。